No one saw this coming. Not like this. For years, Kimmi had been the quiet strength behind her family. She was the calm voice, the steady heart, the woman who carried everyone through storms without ever letting anyone see her break. She was admired by those around her, not for being loud or demanding attention, but for her presence, her dedication, and her unwavering commitment to the people she loved. She was a hard-working nurse, a devoted mother, and a partner who always showed up, no matter what. Life wasn't easy, but she made it look effortless. Still, being strong all the time comes with a price, and what many people didn't realize was that Kimmi was carrying far more than anyone could see. She wasn't just supporting her family financially or practically, she was holding everything together emotionally. Every argument, every stressful moment, every silent disappointment, she absorbed it all. Meanwhile, Maurice had his own ambitions. He wanted success, legacy, and financial freedom. There was nothing wrong with that. Everyone has dreams and aspirations. But over time, his drive for achievement began to pull him away from the very thing that mattered most, his connection with Kimmi. At first, the distance was small. Long hours at work, missed conversations, moments that didn't feel as meaningful as they once had. These gaps were easy to overlook. But gradually, the distance grew, and it became something neither of them could ignore. Then life threw them a challenge that changed everything. Kimmi faced one of the most difficult battles of her life. This wasn't just a simple problem. It was a test of emotional presence, understanding, and deep support. She needed Maurice, not just physically, but emotionally. But instead of stepping closer, he seemed to drift away. Perhaps he thought being busy was enough to cope. Perhaps he believed that providing stability in material ways was all that was needed. But for Kimmi, it didn't feel that way. She felt like she was facing the hardest moment of her life alone, and that feeling changes everything. At first, Kimmi didn't say much. That's who she had always been. Patient, understanding, willing to give others the benefit of the doubt. She tried to hold on to hope, believing that things would improve. But slowly, she began to change. The woman who had always fought to hold everything together began to feel emotionally exhausted. It wasn't physical tiredness, it was something deeper. Emotional exhaustion cannot be ignored, no matter how strong someone seems. Fans started noticing the changes before Kimmi even said a word. Her smile wasn't the same, her energy felt different, and although her warmth remained, it carried a quiet sadness that could no longer be hidden. Maurice didn't notice it immediately. He was preoccupied, unaware of the depth of her struggles. Then came a moment that changed everything. It could have been a comment, a situation, or something small, but it cut deep. For Kimmi, it wasn't just what happened, it was what it represented. It was the lack of understanding, the absence of emotional awareness, the realization that the person she needed most didn't truly see her pain. That moment stayed with her, marking the start of a shift that would eventually lead to a decision no one saw coming. From that point on, Kimmi began to detach quietly. There were no dramatic arguments, no explosive fights, no public breakdowns. She didn't need theatrics to make a point. Instead, she began pulling away in silence. And sometimes, silence speaks louder than words. When someone stops arguing, it doesn't always mean peace. Sometimes it means they've already made a decision. Behind closed doors, their conversations became shorter. The emotional connection they once shared started fading. While Maurice may have thought they were just going through a rough patch, Kimmi was already thinking about something deeper. Her future, her peace, and her freedom. She started focusing more on herself. She spent time with loved ones, found moments of calm, and allowed herself to enjoy life without feeling the weight of constantly fixing everything. Slowly, she realized that she could no longer continue living the way she had been. Then came the moment that shocked everyone. Kimmi made her choice. She didn't make a big announcement, she didn't stage a dramatic reveal, but she made a quiet, powerful decision to walk away. And when that truth finally came out, it hit Maurice harder than anyone could have imagined. He hadn't seen it coming. To him, there was still time, still room to fix things, still hope. But for Kimmi, that chapter had already closed. Maurice's reaction was what truly stunned fans. At first, he couldn't comprehend how things had reached this point. He thought they were still in the process of healing. He believed they were still working through their issues. But when reality set in, everything changed. He began reaching out constantly, making calls, sending messages, trying to fix something that had already been broken for too long. People close to him said he became emotional in ways they had never seen before. The man who always seemed so composed was now struggling to hold himself together. Sleepless nights, restless days, and a constant feeling of regret weighed heavily on him. He began seeing things clearly for the first time, the moments he hadn't been fully present, the times he prioritized work over his connection with Kimmi, the signals he had missed. And the hardest part was realizing that it might already be too late. He tried to explain himself, to show how much Kimmi meant to him, and to express his willingness to change. Perhaps his feelings were genuine, but the truth about timing is that change only matters if it comes before the damage is done. For Kimmi, the damage had already been felt, and no words could undo it. The contrast between them was striking. Maurice was emotional, reactive, desperate to hold on. Kimmi was calm, quiet, and certain. When someone reaches a place of peace after pain, they rarely go back. Fans were divided. Some believed Maurice deserved a second chance, that people can grow and relationships can heal. Others stood firmly with Kimmi, believing she had endured enough and deserved to put herself first. Both perspectives held truth, because this wasn't just a breakup story. It was about emotional neglect, silent struggles, and the moments when one person gives endlessly while the other fails to realize what's being lost. As time went on, Kimmi remained steady. She didn't make public outbursts or give messy interviews. She simply carried herself with quiet strength. She shared moments of her life that felt lighter, more peaceful, like someone who had finally put down a weight she had been carrying for years. That strength spoke louder than any words ever could. Maurice, on the other hand, began to reflect. He looked at himself in ways he hadn't before, questioning his priorities and trying to understand where things went wrong. But growth after loss is never simple. Sometimes lessons come only at the cost of what you were trying to protect. This story is bigger than just Kimmi and Maurice. It is a reminder of how relationships often don't end in one big moment. They end in many small moments, missed conversations, unspoken feelings, times when someone needed you and you weren't fully there. Kimmi's journey resonates with so many because it feels real. So many people have loved deeply, given endlessly, and slowly realized they weren't receiving the same in return. That realization is heartbreaking, but it is also powerful because it leads to a choice: stay and continue feeling unseen, or walk away and find peace. Kimmi chose peace, and that decision changed everything. Maurice's emotional reaction left a lasting impression, not simply because of his pain, but because it revealed regret. Regret has a way of forcing people to confront truths they once ignored. Whether this experience leads to real change for him remains to be seen, but it has shaken him in ways nothing else could. And perhaps that is the lesson here. Sometimes you don't realize the value of something until it's gone, and by then it may no longer be yours. In the end, this isn't just a story about a relationship ending. It's about a woman choosing herself after years of putting others first. It's about emotional awakening. It's about understanding that love alone isn't enough without presence, effort, and care. Kimmi didn't leave because she stopped loving. She left because she finally chose to love herself more. And that is what makes this story so powerful. This isn't just an ending. It's a transformation. Maurice is left facing the consequences of what he didn't see before. Kimmi is stepping into a life that finally feels like hers. And for the rest of us, it becomes a moment to reflect. At some point, everyone has to ask themselves the same question. Is holding on worth losing yourself, or is letting go the only way to truly find peace? Kimmi answered that question, and she didn't look back.